is health? So most of the time you ask someone, how do you know if someone's healthy? They're gonna say what? They're healthy if they look good or they feel good. Well, that model is a model that we really need to destroy. So let's use these two as an example. Who is this? Well, it's Patrick Swayze and Farrah Fawcett. And if you know what happened to these two individuals, well, they were the poster children for healthy human beings, right? And, you can see Patrick Swayze with his six-pack and Farrah Fawcett lean and looking very vibrant. Well, unfortunately, if you followed what happened with both of them, what happened? Both of them died from cancer. And so the question is, were they healthy the day before they got diagnosed? The week before they got diagnosed? And the answer has to be what? No. They had something going on inside their body that was brewing. It was cancer. They didn't have symptoms. They looked good. They felt good. What's going on with that? How did that work? Well, health is not how you look or how you feel. It's really something else. We're going to cover that in just a second. Let's talk about a fire alarm. The purpose of a fire alarm in our house is to do what? It's to warn us. It's to tell us that there's danger. There's something more pressing going on and trying to grab our attention so we do something about it. Well, on the same note, we have fire alarms inside of our body that go off all the time. If we have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or high blood sugar or headaches or neck pain or back pain or indigestion, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, what are these things? These are all fire alarms. These are things going off inside our body saying something more important is happening. And what do? Well, we are taught that when this fire alarm goes off inside of our body, we go to our doctor and we get what? We get a handful of pills or some kind of potion or some kind of procedure, something to essentially turn off the fire alarm or take the 9-volt battery out of the fire alarm, so to speak. And what'll happen is we'll take this stuff and then we'll go on living. Well, let's compare this to what happens in a house. If you smell smoke and you wake up in the middle of the night and the fire alarm's going off, who's gonna go and pull the ladder out of the garage and set up the ladder when you're half asleep, climb up on the top of the ladder and pop the 9-volt battery out of the fire alarm just so you can go back to bed? Yeah, I didn't think so. Very few people would ever do that. That's foolish, that's insane. And if you did that, your house would burn down and you'd probably deserve it at that point because that would be such a dumb thing to do. Yet when it comes to our body, we are taught that that is totally socially acceptable. That's a normal thing to do. Oh yeah, you have high blood pressure? Go in, get a pill, silence that high blood pressure, pull the 9-volt battery out. Instead of asking the most important question. And what's that question? It's why? Why do I have high blood pressure? Why do I have high cholesterol? Why am I having headaches? Fire alarms in our body are extremely important. They are called symptoms. Symptoms are important. They should not be ignored or covered up. If health is not how you look or how you feel, then what is health? Well, according to the World Health Organization, the definition of health really has nothing to do with symptoms or how you look or how you feel, but rather the definition of health is optimal functioning of your body socially, mentally, physically, spiritually, and not just merely the absence of sickness or disease. So before we talk about anything else, we have to talk about, well, what controls the function of your body, because that's what controls your health, and that's what has to be your number one most important asset, right? Well, if we look at this, we turn to Gray's Anatomy, which is the authority on human anatomy, and they say that every single function in the human body is under the direct control of the nervous system. So that's interesting. The nervous system controls everything. And so let's look at that. Well, the brain has this amazing healing energy and capacity within. The brain has to send energy down through the spinal cord. It comes out through those nerves and it controls every single cell, tissue, and organ. So right now, as you're watching this, your heart's beating, your lungs are breathing, your stomach may be digesting some food that you ate, and all that's happening because your brain's controlling the whole process. And the organs are also talking to each other. That all happens through the nerves. So the brain, the nerves, all of these things are totally controlling the function of the body. Interesting. The body has this inborn ability to heal itself. It's a powerful ability as long as it's functioning, as long as it's getting through to all the organs. We have a tremendous capacity to heal and to function and to be healthy. So now here's where we run into trouble. There's this thing called a vertebral subluxation. You remember we talked about how the energy from the brain comes through the spinal cord, out the nerves into the organs. Well, it has to come out through the spinal cord. It comes out through these individual nerve trunks that are called spinal nerve roots. And so these spinal nerve roots over here, those are the ones that branch and divide and subdivide until they control every single organ. Well, what can happen with different traumas and stresses in our life, the bones in the spine can shift out of alignment. And this shift is called a subluxation. Now, that acts like a dimmer switch on a wall. It turns down the energy from the spinal cord and it can't get through into the organs. So the organs over time will actually weaken and degenerate, and it will create disease. They will malfunction. Now, here's one of the most important and interesting and kind of surprising facts about this is that would you think a subluxation most of the time would cause pain? Most people say yes, but the truth is no. Most subluxations don't cause any pain at all. So that means that by the time someone has pain, that the nerve is so inflamed that the organ has been in crisis for a while and the person's health is depleting, the function is depleting. So how do you know if you have a subluxation? Well, you have to get checked for subluxation. This is one of the reasons that we see so many families in our practice, that we check a spouse who maybe has no symptoms, or we check the children who have no symptoms, because the power of prevention, the power of catching this early is huge, instead of waiting for little Johnny to fall down for the 5th time and then start to have some pain. Let's check him after he fell down the first time, or maybe even check him before he fell down just to make sure that he's functional and working properly, just because the first trauma that starts is actually what? Well, it could be childbirth. Childbirth can be a very traumatic thing for the neck area of a baby. Sometimes the first subluxation is coming out of the birthing canal or going through a C-section even. A C-section is not any less traumatic to a child's spine compared to a natural birth. They're still trying to twist and contort and clear the child with making the smallest incision possible and get them out quickly. So now we look at this and we say, all right, well, the Gonstead difference, how is this stuff so different? We're gonna go into detail in that, but just briefly, it's specific. We're trying to find exactly where there's a subluxation in the spine, exactly where there's irritation to a nerve. And then we wanna correct that subluxation and not just pop and click and crack every single segment in the spine. So we take x-ray, we palpate the spine, we use a little instrument that measures temperature. We adjust the spine very precisely. We have specialized equipment to adjust different parts of the spine. We have different tables that accommodate different types of patients. We also do a type of corrective care combined in with this Gonstead system. With the corrective care, the goal is to physically change the structure of the spine. So how do we measure that? Well, we have an x-ray in the beginning that might show something abnormal, and we do follow-up x-ray to measure and to prove that we are structurally changing the spine. That is one of our goals in care. So I hope you found this helpful, covering the crucial, important topic of what is health. We all have to be on the same page first to understand health is not what? Well, it's not how you look and it's not how you feel, but it's how you function. And what controls the function? Well, the function's controlled by your brain and your spinal cord and nerves, which is your nervous system. And then what protects those delicate nerves? Well, that's the spine. And if the spine misaligns or subluxates, then that will cause dysfunction. That will break down the signals coming from the brain going into the organ, or from the organ back to the brain. And over time, that will weaken and degenerate the organs and create disorders and disease. So now I hope you found this helpful, and we will see you on the next video.